So what I'm thinking is I'm going to cut out all of this section up here, right? But leave these tabs right here. So these are going to go away. And this whole section is going to go away. But I'm going to take these completely off. They're going to get cut right here. Both sides. And then the outside's going to get cut in that curve shape that I showed in the last video. For those that are curious, yes, you could put a 10 or a 12 in this part underneath the tray at the top, so you could use up all this space right here. Alright guys, this is the beaver. It's loud, but it's effective. I need to go right here to right there on both sides. Alright, let's jab it and see what happens. Now I'm going to just cut through the top. You see what I mean when I say it's loud, it's crazy, it ain't pretty, but it's very effective. Now I want to get rid of this framework underneath here back to right here. In case you guys are wondering, this thing works kind of like a saw that you would use to cut off a cast off your arm. A little bit more violent than that, but similar. So it doesn't really pose any threat to soft, squishy materials. It only works on hard materials. So while you could cut yourself with it, it's pretty hard to do, and it's pretty safe to work around your hands in weird positions, which is why it is such an amazingly awesome tool.
And that is how the beaver gets things done. I wanted to leave this tab right here, but it ended up going out. But I can still put a screw in here if I want to. Probably grab hold of that. Don't really have to. It's just 'cause I haven't had one in here before. But that's the idea. I still got some strength to it. Now, what I was thinking is, oh yeah, also thinking about putting a light under here. That light's stuck in there. I'll get to that in a minute. What I'm thinking is, since this piece has these tabs on both sides and on the back here, that when I put this in here, set it in those tabs and then clip it into these sides, it'll add some structural rigidity. And then this will fasten this thing in better. But this is the other part. So this piece right here runs out over the subwoofer. And it is, I don't think it's part of the problem. I'm not even sure that any of this was hitting. But while I've got it out, I'm debating on whether I want to cut it off. Now the thing is, most of this is actually hidden up under the dash, but some of it isn't. So this is kind of a beauty piece. And also, this piece can be pulled out separately from the console. So if I decide I want to trim this off, I can do it without taking the whole console back out. So it's fairly easy. I can even do this probably with a pair of snips. Just cut it, you know. So it's fairly easy to do after the fact. So I think I'm going to let it slide for now and see how the whole thing jives out. And then if I need to make that extra alteration, I can later easily. But I can't put it back easily. So there's that. Well, now that the beaver has been here and done its job, let's have a look at this. Space-wise. Again, the subwoofer sits lower, a little bit lower in the actual application. But just about right there is where it goes. And I know this because of how far it protrudes past. I can see this from inside the driver's seat where everything's installed. I know how far it comes into this space right here. And that's actually a little bit further in. So I nailed that cutout pretty good. So it fits there or back this way slightly. But no further that direction. Now, I haven't said that again. This may be a problem, but I don't think it is. But if it is, we can always pull it out and address it later. So, now that I've got this figured out, I've got the exact cutout made. I need to do some dress-up work on it. This is going to take some time and some thinking. All right, this is the underside of the sub. What you're seeing here is the hole that I cut out around here. This is how the plastic pieces underneath are separate, you see, from the outer shell. And I've been debating on how to cushion the sides, this plastic right here, from this shell so that it doesn't move. I mean, there's screws that are going to go here and here, but also this. So, although there's lots of things I could do, epoxy resin, I could do sound deadening sheets, I could do the foam sound deadener that fit. All of those would be excellent solutions. However, I don't think I have any of that stuff because financial state of things right now with me not working. So I'm going to have to work with what I got. And one of the things I've been thinking about is using this double-sided scotch because this has a nice foam texture. I could put a layer in this in there and stick it back together. I think it would hold and make a nice cushion. But I'm going to check my building outside and see if I have any of the foam sound deadener stuff in there. I might have some of that. All right. I went out there and looked, and I had a half a sheet left of this foam that I found. Maybe some more in there, but this will be enough to do both sides. So get to work on that. Oh man. So I'm wanting to cut it into two pieces. I don't need the whole thing right away. I may need a couple pieces for some other stuff, but I need two long pieces for the sides. Probably this long would be good. Doesn't need to be perfect. In fact, I may have to trim them up some, but this should work for the sides. And the backing is still on here right now. But I'm thinking something like this on each side. That would give it a nice cushion. And then I'm going to probably put other little pieces up under here somewhere, but I ain't sure. Because once I get it attached, it's very tight quarters under here. So I don't know if that's going to be a thing or not. But just having something to add some extra cushion right there is kind of what I'm thinking. Of course, we'll do the same thing on this other side to provide it with the cushion as well. Make sure we don't get any vibrations right there. Now having this in here, it pushes this out of alignment just slightly where the screw goes in, which is perfect because when I put the screw in here, it's going to pull that sucker up there nice and tight, and we shouldn't get any kind of rattles here. So what I'm doing is going around and just kind of tapping on things and finding anything making noise, and then once I find something that makes noise, I'm figuring out a way to stop it from making noise. Got this little package of El Cheapos that I've dug into many times, and it usually solves the problem. Sadly, these things are hideous screws, but it's kind of funny how often they've been the solution to a problem. And I think they probably struck again. Though I can put one of the smaller ones in there, I think would be better. So, but one of the shorter ones. The size and the threads are good, so I guess that's what we're going with. El Cheapos. And that is working, sir. I am pleased with that. That is gripping nicely. So, Rando's the man. Now we got this screw. I added another screw back here. Yes, yeah, you can probably see that. So everything feels really rigid and strong in here now. And there's, most importantly, there's no rattles. So we're batting 1,000 today. First, I need more caffeine. If you guys are wondering about the sub enclosure that's in here, if you go back in the Tahoe playlist or in the console playlist, you can see how this was done. Essentially, though it's a enclosure for an F-150 double cab or cab and a half a sub, 10-inch sub, single sub thing. And I want that in there. I don't think I do. I want that outside of there. Let's see here. There we go. I'll get y'all a better view here in a second. All right, that is the location. All right, so once I get it lined up, I can see those screw holes down there. See how they're sitting there lined up? So I know I'm in the right spot. And as you can see, my measurements and figures and calculations worked out pretty good. There's the screws that I was working on earlier. And they're falling outside of the subframe. And everything else is as well. Plenty of clearance under there. Dude, I'm digging it. I don't think there's going to be any issues now. This top piece that I'm going to put in here, remember, it comes across like this. But it's elevated and it fits over the very edge. So I don't really think it's going to be an issue. But when I get the cup holder thing and all that back in here, it'll all make sense. But yeah, we're getting somewhere. For those of you guys that are wondering about the rest of the system, that's these pods on the A-pillars are from customerspeakerpods.com. Same thing with the door pods. The A-pillars have got 3000 series Audio Dynamics 3-inch mid and a M series Memphis tweeter for the component set. And I'm using the passive crossover from the M series component set to cross over these two together so they act as one driver. Same with the other side. The bottoms down here in the bottom and the doors are the recoil 6.5s, and I forget the name, but they're like $20 a piece. So it's $80 for all four, or actually it's less than that, but that's what they retail for both doors total. And these things sound really, really good. And then up here under the console is a version 2, a JL version 2, W1 version 2. It's the old gold bronze colored cone. And then the stereo in the dash, of course, is this whole unit came in one piece. The trim all the way around and the stereo, it's all one piece. And I don't remember where it's. I bought it off Amazon. You can find it. It works good. I got a review on it somewhere, and it's been pretty good. I'm actually pleased with it. And I've got in the back, there's 4 Duckbots Apocalypse subs back here, and I'll show you. So 4 of these guys, the 302 D2s, 2x2s, there's 4. And a ported enclosure tuned to about 36 hertz. And on the subs, I've got 7900.1 Apocalypse. It's been a good amp. And on all the front stage, except for the sub under the console, I'm using this 4-channel. It's an old JL Audio amp. I call it Darth Vader. Um, it got refinished, and so it just used to be all brushed aluminum, so you won't recognize it. But it does 75 watts by 2 on the A pillars, and 150 watts, 125 watts, I think, by 2 on the doors. And underneath that, down here in this little corner, hid from you guys, is my audio dynamics processor. It's the AT64, or the 64 AT, 4 in, 6 out. And then power and the subwoofer that we've been working with. Oh, there's a mess back here. I got all this stuff in the back seat, but we get a little peek at it. I've got my hastily mounted Memphis 1000 out back here, and I've still got a mess to clean up back here from when the stuff caught on fire, but I did clean up all the wiring and made it all whole again. It just don't look too good, but it's all solid. It ain't pretty, but it's solid. Anyway, that's the next project, and that Memphis is gonna be, that's all getting redone back there, but that's what's powering the sub under the radio there in the console. All right, so I decided to add a couple, before I even put this in, I added a couple of little strips of the foam padding down here along each side, just to raise it up just the tiniest bit, and also to make sure this doesn't rattle. And in this area where this piece that goes across the subwoofer, I'm pretty sure it's got enough clearance, but just to make an added insurance, I added a piece of the foam across this. This is our rubber piece right here, so that anything that the sub does come into contact with, possibly, is going to be foamy and soft and cushiony. So there's that. Get that in place. Yeah, it's going to sit like that. I haven't snapped it down yet, but that's where it's going to go. So, alright, after that test fit, I went back and added 2 pads on both sides of this foam. I'm going to just kind of help keep that piece that goes across up as high as I can get it, and also to keep it from possibly rattling. Let's see how that's going to work. Fits, because that looks better. See, that's holding against it just a little bit. That's what I want. Let's snap her in there and see what it does. Yeah. See, that is holding up on that, keeping it away from the sub a little bit. Yeah. I think we might be okay. Yeah. That's it. All right. Sub is playing right now. I've got all the other speakers in here turned off, so it's the only thing playing. We're not getting any vibrations. Now you guys may end up hearing some distortion at some point, but that's because of the way bass affects the microphone on everything. Well, after a little bit more listening, I did start hearing some noises, and they're coming from the cup holder. So we're going to have to trim that piece out. It's going to have to go. I can't make it work in such a way that it's not interfering, causing noise. So I want to keep as much of it as I can, but a big chunk of it's got to go. Bass comes first, man. Bass comes first. So I took my knife and scored me a couple of marks right where sticking this piece. So basically everything around this little kind of square between these tabs needs to come out. A little more stability. This is not ideal for this, but the beaver is not ideal for anything. It just always seems to work. The best tool there is the one that you have, right? Not sure if I'm going to be able to leave it like this, but I wanted to try this first because it overall has a better vibe. Let's pick some of this melted plastic off. This piece is a little trickier to do because I wanted to keep it looking, it's going to be a visual piece, and so I wanted to make it look good. And whenever you're dealing with that problem, you always have to approach things from a slightly different perspective. All right. See what that looks like. You know what? I think that might work. Yeah, I can see the little rod doesn't get anywhere near the cone. But I may need, I don't know, I'll have to look and see. I may need to trim this back a little bit more, but I don't know. Let me look at it without my camera. Alright, so I used a little screw, slip me a washer on, and I put one down there in the bottom. That. I'll just snap this bad boy back in place. Alright, so we did the same thing over here. I slipped one in there with a little washer on it, just as an added piece of insurance. Keep things from moving around. After listening to some Dirty Diana, some Money for Nothing, a whole bunch of rebased music and other stuff, and pushing the sub further than it's supposed to go, like cranking it up in the mix and really giving it a full plate of beans, it's clean all the way through. It doesn't break up anywhere, and there's no rattles and no noise. It's very impressive. So I would call this a 100% success. If you guys are wanting to emulate this, it's a lot of chopping and a lot of grinding, a lot of cutting, but you end up with something pretty incredible. Anyway, guys, peace.